It's time for the Moto America AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, our second round of 9 for 2024 in Mission King of the Baggers. It's the MotoGP Grand Prix of the Americas weekend in Austin, Texas from Circuit of the Americas. Hello everyone and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now Jason, race 1 was super close. We had the top 5 all within 1 second of each other.
We did, but it was 3-time Australian Superbike champion Troy Herfoss who is showing why he's turning this paddock on its ear this year, who would go on and take the win on the last lap over Kyle Wyman.
You didn't see it? Well, here's an exciting race 1.
Let's take a look at race 1 highlights here from COTA. It was pole sitter Tyler O'Hara getting the jump on the field, getting up to that all-important turn 1 clean. As he started to pull away from the field, there was a group of 5 riders behind him. In no particular order, Kyle Wyman, James Raspola, Hayden Gillen, Bobby Fong, and Troy Herfoss, yesterday's challenge winner, would all break away from the rest of the field. As the race wore on, O'Hara would lead for the first 5 laps. And things started to get interesting on the last lap, though, as Kyle Wyman slides up underneath O'Hara, going down into turn 11, only not to know that Troy Herfoss was doing the same to his teammate O'Hara as they accelerated down that back straightaway. All it would take, though, was for Kyle Wyman to just leave the door a little bit cracked in turns 15 and 16, and Herfoss would find his way through with 3 corners to go and go on to win the race over Kyle Wyman and Tyler O'Hara, with Raspoli and Gillen rounding out the top 5.
Exciting race number 1, but these racers have to contend with Circuit of the America, so let's take a look at the track.
Let's have a look at the Harley-Davidson track map here at Circuit of the Americas. You're going to be accelerating up this big hill into a tricky turn 1, down through the very famous S's here from turns 2 all the way through turn 9. These big bikes are going to be going from left to right, back to left again. As you go down into turn 11, you want to get that all-important big drive down that back straightaway into a heavy braking area at turn 12. Into the stadium section here with big grandstands all in this area, turns 13 through 16, and then a very long radius turns 17 and 18 behind the paddock. And if you're going to make any passes, you got to try to do it in 19 or 20 because it is a short run to that checkered flag.
All right, a very challenging Circuit of the Americas indeed, but when we come back, we're going to get this race started. Can Troy Herfoss make it 3 for 3 on the weekend? Stay with us to find out.
Mission King of the Baggers coverage is brought to you by Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson and custom V-twin motorcycles.
All right, Jason mentioned big motorcycles, and if you're new to Mission King of the Baggers, to give you an idea, minimum weight on these bikes, 620 pounds or 281 kilograms. Just to contrast that with a MotoGP motorcycle, the minimum weight there, 350 pounds and 160 kilograms. So Jay, minimum weight for Mission King of the Baggers, quite extensive. So Jay, looking at it, 281 to 160 kilograms, quite a huge difference.
Yeah, big difference. And, you know, as these guys get ready for their second and final race of the day, Greg, I think that there's some, you know, we walked around a little bit during the intermission between these races. Some teams have made some changes. I'm going to be very interested to see if Tyler O'Hara made any changes. He was right there today for that win, only to see his teammate come through again, shuffle him back to third. But O'Hara, he did everything right in that first race. It was only on the last lap that he got a bit duffed up coming down into this area. But Troy Herfoss, who you see on your screen right now, you know, I know we're only 2 rounds in, but he's definitely made a statement early in the season. And we had a really nice chat with him and how much he's just loving being here and doing this.
Yeah, and I think the thing, too, is that this is only the second time that Mission King of the Baggers has been at Circuit of the Americas. The first time, it was over 103 degrees Fahrenheit, and now with temperatures floating around 80 degrees, it's perfect conditions. But with development over the winter, as well as better grip, because we have so many motorcycles on track here this weekend with Moto3, Moto2, and MotoGP, and Mission King of the Baggers, that everyone's been commenting that every single session these bikes have gone out, it's gotten more grip and more grip.
Yeah, and keep in mind where they're getting ready to come out of this turn right now. This is actually turn 16. When they go into this next right, you see the new pavement there, Greg. That pavement on Friday morning, talking to the baggers, they were the first guys on track that saw that pavement, and they said it was so slippery they couldn't even get any real lean angle. And then we've just seen that continue to improve. You can see all the rubber on the track, to your point, all the different bikes that we've had here this weekend. It has definitely wore that part of the track in, and you can see here where that new pavement ended.
Starting grid for Mission King of the Baggers, race number 2 from Circuit of the Americas has Tyler O'Hara at a 15.0 on pole.
Right next to him, Kyle Wyman and Troy Herfoss. Bobby Fong, who, again, was in that lead group, had some problems. Rispoli is there, and Hayden Gillum, our defending champion, just outside of row 2, with Rocco Landers, Kyle Onsword, Corey West on row 3. And then we have Travis Wyman, Max Flinders, and Jake Lewis. You see him there, Greg, but I think that Jake didn't line up for this race. He had some problems in the race this morning.
So there is Herfoss lining up. See if he can get it done again. Pretty impressive run for the Australian Superbike champ. 6 laps scheduled for Mission King of the Baggers race number 2, as all riders are in place. We're ready to get this race action going. And that tricky turn number 1 awaits. Upper left part of your screen, the red lights will go on and then off, and then we are off and running. Revs are up, and here we go. A slew of American Iron heading to turn 1 for race number 2 here at Circuit of the Americas.
Oh, Hayden Gillum with a big move, jumping down the inside of Herfoss and some others. Herfoss going to turn it back underneath him, get a little bit loose. Same guy leading as the first race, though. O'Hara off to a nice clean start, gets away through that first turn, letting everybody else battle their way through second. Now this becomes a little bit more single file down through all these S's, but O'Hara's away again. It looks like Kyle Wyman, or I'm sorry, I can't tell if it's Hayden or Kyle there in second. I know Hayden got a great jump. It's Hayden Gillum running in second.
Yeah, number 1 plate on that Revzilla Motul Vance & Hines Harley Davidson, chasing the S&S Indian Challenger motorcycle. That factory effort. Good look at Rispoli, but Hayden Gillum, boy, they found something between race 1 and race 2.
He's going to take a shot, I think, early here. If it's not here, it's going to probably be at the end of the back straight if he can get into the draft of that factory Indian in front of him. This is a little bit easier work from Herfoss. Remember, he was 6th earlier on in the race off the start and stayed back there most of the time. So now he's put himself and sees himself in a better spot as the Vance & Hines Harley Davidson is trying its best to stay up with the legs of that factory Indian at the front. You can see O'Hara's just got a little bit of speed on him down that back straight. Kyle Wyman looking like he wanted to take a shot at Herfoss, couldn't do it. Bobby Fong there, Greg, in 5th, and then it's James Rispoli just off the back in 6th.
Off the back straightaway, Kyle Wyman just touched 169.9 miles per hour in that draft. Not bad for bagger motorcycles in race trim here in Moto America competition. So now we have these 6. They're starting to eke away from the rest of the field. Rocco Landers back there on the number 97 on that Revzilla Motul Vance & Hines Harley Davidson, leading the charge for the rest of the field. But all eyes up front. Thought for a moment that maybe Hayden Gillum was going to have a go at Tyler. Now let's check in with the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa.
Greg, you mentioned at the start of the race, Jake Lewis absent from the grid. He did not finish race 1. He was having some electrical gremlins. They've been fighting with them all weekend. I spoke to the team and they decided out of an abundance of caution not to send Jake out until they were confident that they could get this resolved, but they're already working on it and have plans to have it done by Atlanta next weekend.
Yeah, because it's just a short amount of time when we go to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We're going to be there with bikes on track Friday, so it's 6 short days. So that would make a lot of sense. Get everything sorted out and changed for that. Thanks a lot for that, Hannah. All you Jake Lewis fans, you'll get to see him in a couple of short days.
Troy Herfoss moves through on Hayden Gillum up into turn 1, and I think that's really the tell this year of these factory Indians. With that new swing arm, Greg, the bikes are much more stable getting into corners, and you can see Hayden Gillum is a hard man to pass on the brakes, but Herfoss made that pass actually look pretty easy and early going up into 1. These Indians now are so much better under braking. They don't get tied up in knots quite as much as they were as we've seen in years past. As Herfoss now taking a shot at his teammates. So already it's a lap and a half in. Herfoss finds his way to the front. These guys now are going to have to do everything they can not to mess each other up too much and let him pull away.
For Troy Herfoss, when we spoke with him, he mentioned some changes that he wanted to make to this motorcycle before we got into this race. And it was really just some minor changes, Jason, just to give him a little bit more edge grip in the corner and give him more confidence when he was through the fast stuff, which is going to be that turn 3, 4, 5 area.
Right.
But, you know, oftentimes when you make a change like that, if it feels good in the fast sections, it can pay off in the slower stuff.
Sometimes, and it can work adversely too. You have to try to find that balance of, are you willing to make a big enough change that it might hurt you in some spots but help you in the spots that you feel are important in your lap. We've seen now Kyle Wyman as well has moved up through and past the number 1 of Hayden Gillum, as Rispoli and Bobby Fong here at 5th and 6th place. They've been trading places on this lap as well.
And left part of your screen is our scoring pylon, and you can see for Travis Wyman, if you see the little P that's right next to his name, unfortunately for Wyman fans, Travis is in the pits. Out wide goes the 29 of Tyler O'Hara. And Hayden Gillum had a good run, very aggressive early on, has slid to 4th place, Hannah.
Yeah, Greg and Jason, you were talking about how big of a change to make, and are you willing to take that risk, where are you willing to compromise? I touched base with Hayden Gillum's team to see what was making the difference. They told me huge wholesale changes. They flipped that entire bike upside down. It does not even resemble the bike that he raced in race 1 today.
Amazing. And you see there, Kyle Wyman slides up the inside of O'Hara as they go up into turn 1. So he makes that pass, looking a little bit further back. It looked like Rispoli was trying to take a shot at Fong, wasn't able to make it. So Kyle knows right now, Greg, that he sees Herfoss go to the front at a 15.7. We saw 15.2 out of the 17 earlier today. Keep in mind, 15 flat is our pole time. So they're right around the pace that they were at this morning. But I feel like Kyle Wyman, you know, he doesn't want to let Herfoss just kind of get into a rhythm and settle in. That's why he made that pass on O'Hara.
Yeah, maybe a little revenge pass that Kyle Wyman is planning from race number 1. Keep in mind, Tyler O'Hara back there. We had one exhibition race at Laguna Seca back in 2020, and Tyler O'Hara won that race, and that also gave him the number 1 plate for 2021, where Kyle Wyman won that championship. Tyler O'Hara came back in 22 to win that, and then Hayden Gillum, your national champ. So Michigan King of the Baggers hasn't been around that long, but it has made a tremendous splash, and this is part of the reason why, when we have such close racing, as these top 6 have broken away. All eyes on the number 50, though. You got to take a look at Bobby Fong, who had some trouble, ran wide in race number 1, but that SDI Roland Sands Racing Indian Challenger, he could be making some moves, especially in this tighter stuff. We know that Bobby Fong likes to go up the inside, and so do his competitors.
He's trying right now, and to see if he lets go of this lever. And yeah, he's close.
Oh.
But this is the turn that he basically goes a lot narrower into here, and you can see Kyle Wyman showing some pace at the front with Herfoss, but just behind, there's Bobby Fong in 4th. This is a turn he's been extremely good at. It looks like he's trying to set up O'Hara as they go down to here into turn 19. Greg, he's going to make that pass.
So that was around the outside, but can he get the bike turned? That bike moving all over the place. He gets it turned for the moment, and now onto the front straightaway they go, but Fong trying to protect that line. That motorcycle all over the place, but Fong now up to 3rd place, Hannah.
And Greg, when I went to check in with the team between races, they were actually mid-engine swap, which you know is no easy feat on any day, but with such a quick turnaround, it's really impressive to see them get that done for him.
Yeah, and just like that, Bobby Fong so deep on the rear brake, gets the thing sideways, and no matter how much dirt tracking you have up that hill and then unloading that rear end, that almost went completely sideways.
It did. You can see he's trying to do things here with Hayden Gillum through those S's. He wasn't able to make it. This is all going to be because of exactly what you said, Greg. He gets in there way too deep, and he probably felt like his drive out of the last corner could have been a little bit compromised because of the turn prior when he went up underneath O'Hara, and that's what caused that little problem. But these two guys now, they're breaking away at the front, and I'm looking at the screen, 15-2 for Kyle Wyman. So that was the fast lap from this morning's race by Herfoss, but now Wyman is the guy doing that time, as now Rispoli is on the back of Tyler O'Hara as they head down into this turn 11 area. He's going to slide up underneath that factory Indian. So now the second of the factory Harleys on the 43, James Rispoli gets himself moved up into that 3rd spot, and he's going to have to protect a little bit as they go down this back straightaway. And you can see he's all the way on the left. He wants to make O'Hara go to the right of him, Greg, so he can still hold on to that track position when he gets down to this hard braking area.
Still Herfoss leads on the 17 from Kyle Wyman on the 33. And then, there you go, the 29 of O'Hara moves by into third spot. So those four in the back part of your screen are battling for that final podium spot, and all too important championship points, as this is the fourth race of 18 scheduled for 2024. So points are starting to pile up early on in the season, but Kyle Wyman up and out of the saddle slightly. And Jay, we talked about this earlier off camera about how, in terms of doing these 2:15 lap times for Troy Herfoss, it looked like the amount of effort you put into it, he had the least amount. But now, right, Kyle Wyman looks pretty comfortable.
No, he does. Kyle looks really comfortable. But if you notice, the Harley has a tendency to get sideways a lot more on the exits than the Indian. The Indian looks like it's tracking forward. And the Harleys, every now and then, they look like they're, like you see even there with Rispoli, you see that initial throttle touch. And that could even be, like I said this morning, they've had to gear the bikes a little bit shorter, Greg, to try to get off the corners with the Indians a little bit better. So that could be one of the reasons why they feel these things spinning up the way they are. But Wyman looks great right now. 15.2s. Again, both the guys in the front are both the only two riders that time that were in the 2-minute 15 range. Everybody else is the low 16s, although Rispoli that lap 15.6 as well, as he tries to continue to figure out a way around O'Hara.
So the fastest race lap set around Circuit of the Americas by Mission King of the Baggers was a 2:15.258. That was race number 1 by Troy Herfoss. Right now, the fastest lap set by Kyle Wyman is a 2:15.265. So just a couple hundredths of a second away from that record, these two. And wow, Rispoli just is committed to throwing on the side of the motorcycle. It almost looked like he was dragging a bag there.
Yeah, these bikes, they have so much grip, Greg, and these, you know, when you go out and you watch him, as Rispoli now takes another shot at O'Hara, and that is actually going to open the door for that guy right behind. So you can see there, Hayden Gillum takes advantage of it. This will actually help Rispoli, because I think it messed up O'Hara just enough. Rispoli goes back by. Now Bobby Fong is going to be the worry, as he is in Rispoli's draft there on the right side of our screen.
And there goes Kyle Wyman. So Wyman up the inside on Herfoss, and a good move for Wyman, but Herfoss squares it up and then just grabs a handful and gets back by.
Yeah, fired it right back through there. And let's see what happened here is Rispoli, Fong, and O'Hara.
Boy.
This is a mess right here. These are, you see O'Hara, this is just hard racing at this point. These guys are all battling so hard. They want to get to the front and then see if they can get away from the guys behind him. And O'Hara, unfortunately, in this case, kind of lost out with all three of them as Gillum moves through as well.
So Bobby Fong trying some lines, and boy, he's got a lot of corner speed on that Indian motorcycle. So the factory Harley-Davidsons at the moment are 2-3 with Kyle Wyman. He's had a good look at Herfoss. He's given him a shot, but now what's the plan? Maybe later in the lap, Jay, is what I'm thinking, as we are now going to go and get that white flag. So final lap and final time for Kyle Wyman to unfold his plan on how he's going to beat Troy Herfoss to the line.
He's got to park him in one of these slow turns. He's in too deep here. I think Herfoss will probably be able to turn it back underneath him. But that's kind of what Kyle's got to do, is disrupt the lap as he's able.
There you go.
He's able to get that bike straightened up on the exit. So he did a really nice job of straightening the bike up. Now he's in the S's, and now it's going to be up to Troy to figure out a way around the 33.
These are 620-pound motorcycles that these riders are throwing around in full control. No electronic traction aids at all. It's all done with the right wrist and, of course, that braking hand. So Kyle Wyman, now he's starting to put some distance, some daylight between him and Herfoss.
This is what Kyle does really well on this bike. He has a lot of lean, and he allows the bike to roll a lot through the middle of the corners. So, you know, with no electronics on these bikes, it's still amazing how much grip they really do have. As you can see, Kyle gets into this turn. He wants to get out of here as clean as he can, and he got a really nice drive. And see the difference just there, how he pulled away? That's that gearing we were talking about, as he has a little look underneath his shoulder, and he's going to remember what happened there in race 1. He's going to be blocking these lines down here into turn 12, and then you'll probably see him close that door in 16 and not let Troy do the same thing he did before. The last place he'll have to really be careful of an attack will be coming out of 18 going to 19, and of course, our final corner.
Kyle Wyman, factory Harley-Davidson, your championship points leader, coming into this thing, trying to extend as the battle for the final podium spot continues. Rispoli just searching for any traction in the rear tire right now. now, and Bobby Fong trying to make a move up the inside. Boy, that was on the paint. That was so tight, but a good move from Rispoli to hold him off for third place for the moment on this final lap of the Mission King of the Baggers race number 2. And now Rispoli with a couple bike lengths in between, but Fong with a plan. Wow. Back to the front we go, and Kyle Wyman on the 33 on that factory Harley-Davidson, that Screaming Eagle machine. Onto the front straightaway we go for the final time in this corner, and he's got a couple bike lengths. Can he keep it tidy? Wyman on the gas, behind the bubble, and to the line they come, and Wyman takes victory, and a 14.8 for Kyle Wyman on the last lap, and Rispoli holding on to third, and a new track record, and Mission King of the Baggers finally dip into the 2:14 bracket.
Amazing.
Incredible. And Kyle Wyman puts the most amazing lap of Mission King of the Baggers in the 2 times we visited Circuit of the America, and he does it on the final lap to take victory by 0.6 of a second over Troy Herfoss and James Rispoli in third, Bobby Fong and Tyler O'Hara. What a race. Can't wait to hear what Kyle Wyman has to say about this one. Teammates congratulating each other on that one. And Jay, did you think 2:14.890 with a tire that has basically 6 laps, 7 laps with the warm-up lap, 8 laps with the sighting lap? I mean, pretty incredible stuff.
Really good stuff there. And you know, Kyle rode really good. I mean, he was obviously making a plan there. He was very committed to that pass in turn 1. I thought he did a really nice job of just getting it out of turn 1 and beating Troy down the hill. And you can kind of tell that even protecting lines to still do that 14.8, it's there. I was kind of waiting for one of these guys to do it. And conversely, too, you look at the 43 of James Rispoli, him and Bobby Fong were going at it pretty hard there at the end as well. Rispoli runs a 15.6, or I'm sorry, they're both in the 16s, but 15.6 and 15.3 for Bobby Fong in their fastest laps, too. So good battles all the way around.
And Tyler O'Hara finished 5th. He turned his fastest lap of the race, which was a 16.1 on the last lap as well. And the question is, what happened to Hayden Gillum in 6th place? He was up there in the mix. And Rocco Landers ends up in 7th, Kyle Owensorg in 8th, Max Flinders in 9th, and Corey West in 10th. We mentioned Travis Wyman pulled into the pits, and no Jake Lewis. He wasn't able to start the race, as we heard from Hannah earlier on in the race. But Jay, how important to set the tone as we head off to Road Atlanta here in 6 days' time, really 5 days' time is when the teams are going to roll in, for Kyle Wyman to be leading this championship and to have a race win with really a surging Troy Herfoss.
I think it's a great point, because that first race today, Herfoss really showed that he was able to beat these guys. And at Daytona, it's such a different type of track. I think it's going to give this guy a lot of confidence.
Mission King of the Baggers coverage is brought to you by Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson and custom V-twin motorcycles.
Back at Circuit of the Americas with our race winner, Kyle Wyman, the number 33. What is that? Race win 15 in Mission King of the Baggers, I believe, for Kyle Wyman all time, as he extends his all-time win lead in the class. Yeah. That Harley-Davidson Factory Racing Road Glide getting the job done. And yeah, if you're watching this for the first time and you're talking to your buddy or your partner about those bags, those things have to be stock in terms of their dimensions, their size. They're the same as you would buy on the street bike. They are allowed to be positioned, Jason, up to 3 inches taller than stock. And mainly that's because of ground clearance, because there's so much lean angle now in these bikes that they were grinding. So Moto America Tech has said, look, you can have maximum adjustment from stock to 3 inches taller than it comes on the street bike. But that fairing's the same, and a lot of riders of the Indian Challenger and Harley-Davidson Road Glide will definitely recognize their motorcycle, but in what we could say is virtually superbike trim.
Yeah, that's best way to put it, is they are like superbikes for sure. I mean, the speeds that they're going are incredible, as we've documented in the past. So, and these guys have put on a great show this week for MotoGP.
Here's a look at the results for Mission King of the Baggers race number 2. It's Kyle Wyman, .677 over James Rispoli, and Bobby Fong in the mix in front of Tyler O'Hara and Hayden Gillum. Let's get down to Hannah with our race winner.
After a tricky first race 1, race 2, you reclaimed the victory. Kyle Wyman, it seemed like you were exercising a lot of patience throughout that race. Take us through it.
Yeah, definitely learned my lesson last year in race 2 when I got a bad start and didn't have that patience. So just chilled out a little bit, let it come. It seemed like I had some pace. And once I saw that I had a gap to third, I love a one-on-one fight like that. And I wasn't going to let him have it in race 2 today. So just so pumped to get this win, third on the year, and a big deal leaving here with a victory for Harley-Davidson, and we're going straight into Road Atlanta next weekend. So boys will have something to smile about, and it's a great race, and let's keep it going.
Congratulations, today's race winner. Let's move on over to second place today, Troy Herfoss. Troy, a really solid weekend for you. You won the Mission Challenge. You won your first ever Mission King of the Baggers race, following it up with another podium finish, second today. Can you get a better weekend than that?
No, we can't. My Indian Challenger was working so good. Sometimes we can't do the bikes justice, can we? Kyle was just a little bit better than me, and that's fine. I've got another. What have we got? 14 races to go to try and catch him. He's riding really well. He's got a bike working well, and I honestly think we're so close. We're on par. It's a bit of an experience, and like, he's a smart guy. He played it really well, and a big hats off to my team. S&S bike was amazing. All our sponsors, Mission Foods, Parts Unlimited, Drag Specialties. I'm going to forget a few because I'm so new to this, but I just want to say thank you for having me, and I really enjoyed it.
It takes a village. Congratulations, second place today, Troy Herfoss. Third place today, bookends on the podium for Harley-Davidson, James Rispoli. You had quite the battle going on there, back with Hayden Gillum, Bobby Fong mixing it up. What was it that helped you come out on top today?
Just raw, I don't know, man. I think I might have got luck of the cards. We haven't had a lucky weekend per se, so to fight back, I knew that last lap, man. There was so many people. Fong was shoving up the inside. I passed Tyler. We were running wide. We kind of got screwed to win the race, but, Harley-Davidson has put so much work. My team's put so much work into this, and, I'm like, I got to give it everything. I tried some ballsy moves, man, and, it paid dividend today. So I'm just stoked we're here at Coda GP, and, I'm stoked to be on the podium here, and I'm just fired up. Thank you.
James Rispoli, weighing that risk versus reward out there, paid off today, guys.
Yeah, it certainly did for Rispoli, and he is digging it. Let's take a look at these point standings as we're finished with our second round of 9 for 2024 here at the MotoGP Grand Prix of the Americas, and Kyle Wyman now has 10 points over Troy Herfoss. James Rispoli in there with 34. Tyler O'Hara and Hayden Gillum still in the mix. A lot of work for the number 1 plate to do if he wants to hold on to that number 1 plate for next season. But as Troy mentioned, we got a lot of racing ahead of us here in 2024. Well, Jason, I think what Troy Herfoss was alluding to on the podium was how close the bikes are. I mean, they're evenly matched. And when we go to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta next week, we do contend with another long back straightaway. But also, we deal with a racetrack that it's not the easiest racetrack to learn, wouldn't you say? It's got a lot of ups and downs, some blind stuff.
It is in that regard, but he's so seasoned, he'll be fine. Atlanta is very one-lined when you start looking from the top of the S's down. It's not going to take him much. I think this place was more intricate to learn probably, and he learned it first session out, he was the quickest. So, like I said, he's a very seasoned guy. He's very gracious in defeat there with Kyle Wyman, who rode well today. So I think Troy will be fine next week in Atlanta as well. I think we're going to see another race like we saw today. There'll be 5-6 guys battling at the front. And I think Rocco, he'll get used to this bike. He's going to continue to chip away, and he could be the 7th guy that will add up into that mix.
Well, Circuit of the Americas certainly has been great here at Mission King of the Baggers at MotoGP. And with 4 of the 18 races in, we're looking forward to more. And here's a look at our Mission King of the Baggers schedule. Next up, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta coming up. We got Road America, home of Harley-Davidson, Brainerd International Raceway, home of Indian Motorcycles, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, Mid-Ohio is back. And then we're here September 13th back at Circuit of the Americas. Cannot wait to see all this great race action. What a series we've had here. We hope you enjoyed it. For Han and Jason, I'm Greg.